Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 3 of making your own platformer in Unreal Engine. Today we will be creating this HUD, as you can see, with the hearts and the health value. And we're going to do this similar to the old sort of PS2 GameCube style games, where instead of a health bar we have numbers. And with that, when we pick up certain objects or do certain things, we can increase our health like so. We can also take damage if we need to, and this will affect our character specifically. So let me show you how we did it, and let's go. So first thing first, let's open up our player blueprint and get rid of all this code so I can show you exactly what we needed to do. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to open up our content browser there, and we're going to create something called a blueprint component. So right click, go blueprint class, active component, and label it BPC stats or whatever you need it to be. Let's label it player stats. Open it up and bring it over here. And in here, we're going to create some variables that will represent our health, as well as XP or money or anything that you would like. But for us, we're going to do money and not XP, but health. So let's start. Let's create a variable and label it current health. And we're going to make it a float. Then we're going to do the same again, and we're going to make it max health. I'm going to create one more for in our instance. We're going to call it money, for example. So compile, save, and now we're going to change the default values of current and max health. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to make the current health 50 and the max health 100. Compile and save that. Okay, so let's start working on the functionality. You can get rid of the event tick, but we're going to be dragging off this event begin play to get a reference to our player. So from the begin play, we're going to drag off here, type in cast to BP underscore player. And then we're going to right click on the event graph and say get owner. And you'll see it says target is active component. That's the one we want. So click and drag in here, connect it, and then right click on as BP player and promote to variable. We're going to call this player ref. So I'm just going to delete this as was for testing and click compile and save. So now we have a reference to our BP player. Now we're going to create 3 functions that will deal with increasing our health, decreasing our health, and increasing our max health. For example, if we pick up an upgrade, it makes our health larger. So let's start with the increase health function. So come over here, click function, and type increase health. Let's just call it increase health. And you should now be in this new window. We're going to click on this and add one input, which will be our increase, if I can spell. And we're going to make this a float variable. So basically, when we call this function, we're going to input a certain amount of health into here, and this will lead into further in our code. So let's get to it. So what we're going to want to do is get our current health, and we're going to add the incoming amount. So that will be this here. And then we're just going to click and drag out and set our current health to the new value. But obviously, if we do this and we just leave it as is, if we reach 100 health and we pick up another health pickup, it's going to go over that. So let's clamp the value so that we don't go over our max health. To do that, click out and drag a branch. And this will check against our current health versus our max health. So drag out of our current health and check if it is greater than our max health. We can hit the condition. If it is greater than our max health, what we're going to do here is we're going to set our current health to equal our max health. Simple enough. Okay, so that will set our current health to equal the max health value. So let's go and make the decrease health. And we're going to come back to these as there's one more step we need to do after this, but let's first get this done. So click here and type in decrease health. As you might have guessed, it's the same thing but in reverse. So we're going to go incoming damage. So what we're going to want to do here is first we're going to want to make a branch, because we want to make sure that we're not subtracting health if our player is at 0 health. So to do that, let's go get our current health and check that it is less than or equal to 0 and make it a not bool, because we don't want it to be equal to 0. Alright, so off of true, what we're going to do is we're going to take our current health and minus it from the incoming damage. You can click on this long string to create a reroute node, just so that this can be a bit neater. So let's do that and move these down like that. So it's just a bit neater. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set our current health. Set health to the new value. Okay. So now that we've set that, we're going to want to go back to our function here, and we're going to make an output, and we're going to make this a boolean to check if our player is dead. So label it is dead. Okay, and move this all the way to the end and check this for here. Okay, we're going to need a second one so that if our player isn't at 0 health, it will return a value of not dead. But before that, we need another branch to tell Unreal which one is which. So just connect true to the top and false to the bottom. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get our current health and make sure it is less than or equal to 0. If it is less than or equal to 0, it means we're dead. If we go more, it's we're not dead. So compile and save. Okay, so let's do the increase max health quickly. So again, we're going to create another function, call it increase max. Okay, and again we're going to have an input of increase max health and make this a float. Okay. So again, we're going to get our max health, and we're going to add it to the incoming amount and set the max health as the new value. Simple as that. Click compile and save, and that's all we'll do for now. Okay, so once we're done with that, you want to come over to your BP player and you want to click add up here and just type in BPC player stats and add it. So this will add the BPC player stats to this to your player character so you can have functionality. Now I've already got one called BPC stats, so I'll just delete this off mine, but obviously you will use yours for yours. So what we're going to do is find some empty space anywhere in your blueprint. We'll just go up here for now and just type in run event any damage. Okay, so this event basically is when this character receives any damage, this event will fire off and you'll get your functionality. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag out of your BPC player stats, click and drag and just type in the decrease health. So this will be the decrease health functionality. We're going to put here and there. Okay, great. That's all we need for here for now. We'll be handling player death in another tutorial, but for now, this is what we're going to do. So let's test it out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come under here and type debug key and just choose any key. I'm going to take debug key K and drag off here and type apply damage. Okay, The damaged actor is going to be self because we're damaging ourselves. And then we're going to put in a value. So let's just make it 10 for instance. So compile and save. Happy days, wherever it is. Okay, so now that we've done this, we need to call the functionality to decrease health. So drag off BPC player stats and type in decrease health. There we go. So connect it up and just connect damage to there, and that will damage our player. So let's do the same for the increase health. So let's just find debug key 0 and just choose numpad 0. Same thing. So for this, we're just going to go BPC player stats and increase, if I can spell, increase health. And we'll just put a flat value in here for now. And there we go. So essentially what's going to happen in the background is when we press the K key, we're going to be damaging our character by 10 points. And that will come off our player's health, which we set up in the BPC player stats, this amount here. And then if we press debug key numpad 0, we're going to increase our health by 10. So let's set up the HUD so we can visualize that. Open up your content browser and we're going to go to content folder, right click, create a new folder, name it UI. As you can see, I've already got mine. And we're going to come in here, right click, go all the way down to user interface, widget blueprint, user widget, WB for widget blueprint, and then name it whatever you want. I'm going to call it player HUD. So let me drag this in over here. And this is going to be our HUD, so what the player will see. So first things first, we're going to want a canvas panel. This is basically just a frame that will be shown to the player, and everything that happens on the HUD exists within this canvas panel. So for this tutorial, we're just going to do something very basic and just type in image, and we're going to drag it onto here. Go over your image, press F2 and label it whatever you want. I'm going to call mine heart image. Okay, from here what we're going to do is we're going to go up to anchors, make sure it's anchored to the top left, and then we're just going to shift it in slightly. So let's go 50 units in the X, 50 units in the Y. Okay, and then I'm going to make the image square because my image that I brought in is square. So I'll show you that now. Just make it 100 by 100. Okay, so back to your content browser. In your assets, just import your image. You can see mine is just this basic heart. And once it's import, just save it and then back to your HUD. Then under brush settings on this image, we're going to go here and just type in heart. There we go. Compile and save. Okay, so now we've got the heart. Now, you can either use a progress bar, but for us, we're going to be using text. So we're just going to type in text here, get this and drag it onto the canvas panel. So again, we're going to relabel this to health value text. Okay, great. So we're going to check up here is variable because we're going to be changing the content of this text block. So again, make sure it's anchored to the top left, and we're going to change the position of this 100. No, it's a bit much. You can also just click and drag if you want to place it manually. I just like having round numbers in mind. So 155 by 85. Great. We're going to then just click size to content. That way we don't need to fill with all of these, and it will just fit the text block to whatever our value is. Great, so compile and save. Okay, so that's all we need to do in the player HUD. So you can close out of this for now. And we're going to go to our BP player. So find your event begin play, this over here, and we're just going to drag off of this and go create widget. And what this is doing is as we begin playing with this character, it's going to spawn this widget. So click your HUD under class, just type in WB. Yours will be player HUD or whatever you labeled it. Mine will just be HUD. Then what we're going to do is we right click here, promote to variable. And we're going to call this HUD reference. This way we're just storing the HUD as a reference here for us. So click compile and save. Then we're going to drag off here and click add to viewport. The viewport is basically the screen that the player will see. So with that, now if we press play on our game, we will have the HUD in the top left. See, nice and easy. Okay, so from that, now that we've added to the viewport, we're going to go back to our BPC player stats, go back to your event graph, and we're going to create an event that will set the default value of that text. So let's start that now by right clicking and typing in custom event. Label it something like set health value, or I think it might be actually better to initialize health value. And then from here, we're going to get our player reference. We're going to type in HUD reference. So what this is doing back in here is it's getting this reference now that it's part of a player. So that way we can access all the values on the inside. And then we're just going to type in get health amount, which is what we labeled it in the HUD. Then we're going to drag off here and set text. So there we go. Target is set text. Cool. So drag this all down because we're going to be using a bit of space. And in this block, this will be whatever our text is going to be. So we're going to get our current health and we're going to just click and drag and it will auto convert this for us. So click compile and save. And now basically what's happening is when we call this event, it is going to get the current health and set it in that text block in the HUD. So go back to your BP player, drag off BP C stats and type in initialize health. Sorry, call it set health value. Click and drag. Yours might be initialize health value, whatever it is. Click and drag. So compile and save. And basically, as we start playing the game, it will get this health value and set it to the screen. So let's go and make the adjustments on the functions now so that we can increase and decrease the value through the HUD. So let's start with the increase health. So we're going to come all the way to the end here. We're going to do the same thing. Get a player reference. Get the get HUD reference. And get health amount, and then just set text. Click and drag, and same thing, get current health and auto convert it. So what we're going to do as well from this false functionality is we're going to put it to the set text as well, like so. So even though our health is equal to or less than our max, it will always return a value whether it's false or true. So there we go. Now we'll do the same for the decrease health. But we're going to do this slightly different because it's going to come before this branch. So get the player reference, get HUD ref, amount, and set text, and then get current health as an auto convert, and there we go. You could also just do that if you wanted to, but this works as well. Okay. And then finally for the max health, we will do the same thing. Get HUD reference, get health amount, set text, and then get current health and set it to there. Okay. If you want to line these up pretty quickly, highlight all of them and press Q, it will put them on a nice line for you. So click compile and save. Alright, I think that's it. So let's try and test our functionality. Let's comment this quickly and go create HUD. Okay. And then here is our event any damages, so let's leave that as is and test. Okay, so my mistake, I did this. So we just need to change this variable to what I had it before. Sorry, this is for testing. Yours should be fine as long as you don't have a second reference. So we can go here, click compile and save, get rid of this and compile and save again. And that should now be working. Yeah. So there we go, 50 health. So let's press the numpad 0 and our health's going up by 10. And then as well for damage, which is going up by 20. Okay, so there we go. That is the basics of creating a health system in Unreal Engine for your platformer. That's going to be it for this video. In the next video, we're going to go over these spinning coins. So I'll catch you then. Enjoy.